interesting, the difference between the theory and the practice, obviously. And the reality is, the more we know that God has forgiven us unconditionally because he operates in unconditional love, if we're to live in that unconditional love, then life then becomes joyful and then becomes peaceful. And when God spoke to me about living loved and loving living and living loving, the concept in that was experience my love, then you'll be able to view life in a joyful sense, and you'll be able to live at peace with everybody as I live at peace with you. So unforgiveness is a poison that will poison us. It's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die, someone once said. Now, the reality is unforgiveness is the totally antithesis of the gospel, which is reconciliation and forgiveness. God has forgiven us for everything, holds nothing against us at all. So when we know that, and when we've received unconditional love, then it's easier to give unconditional love. So who's being affected by your bitterness and towards this person? You, not them. So the reality is, you choose to forgive someone, not because they deserve it, not because they've asked you to or even earned it. You forgive them because it sets you free from being affected by and controlled by them in the situation. And if they're triggering you, it's because you're tied to what they've done and that person is controlling you. So better let them go. So when you forgive, it isn't just a matter of saying, well, I choose to forgive them in your head. It's a settling accounts. Jesus told the parable in Matthew 18 of the unforgiving servant, and he forgave this servant effectively the gross national debt of Israel at the time, and then he wouldn't forgive one person a day's wages. And that's like it is for us. God has forgiven us everything. He holds nothing against us. He keeps no record of wrongs, because love keeps no record of wrongs. And he wants us to treat other people the same way that he's treated us. And it's a choice. So you look at what this person did, you look at how it affected you, you make an invoice. You invoice, they did this, it caused me to feel this, it affected me in my future in this way, therefore I'm going to choose to forgive them and release them for what they owe me, how they've affected me, how it's impacting my life, and I'm going to let them go. I'm going to cancel the debt that's outstanding that they owe me because of what they did to me, and I'm going to cancel it. Just as God has cancelled all debt towards you by nailing them to the cross and dealing with them. So nail your accusation against this person to the cross and let it go. Choose to forgive. It's not a question of emotions, it's a question of choice. And then if something triggers you, you take captive that thought and say, they've got nothing, they owe me nothing. I'm not going to be triggered because they owe me nothing. Because if you cancel a debt, they owe you nothing. So cancel the debt. Don't just think, well, I'm going to forgive them, sort of. Now, the advice you got from God is great. You know, in a sense, forgiving someone and releasing them doesn't mean that you necessarily don't accept what they did to you was good if it wasn't. You don't have to accept friendship with them or relationship with them if they're still operating in the same way. But your relationship with God will enable you to see that person the way God sees them and ask him to show you how he sees them. They're his child, even if they hurt you. God has forgiven them already anyway and holds nothing against them. So it's better to be in alignment with God towards the person rather than trying to outwork it in your own understanding, in your own strength. And yes, he'll give you a way of dealing with it, but he's already given us a way of dealing with it, because he's basically saying, love one another as I've loved you. His love is unconditional. He's forgiven us unconditionally. If we choose to forgive others unconditionally, which doesn't mean they have to change, doesn't mean they have to apologize, it doesn't have to mean they have to be different, because we're dealing with what's in our heart. We're not dealing with them. We let God deal with them. We deal with what's in our heart, and essentially bitterness, resentment, unforgiveness is a poison, and it will be toxic to our soul, toxic in our thinking, and will affect our physical body potentially. So let them go, cancel the debt, ask God for the power to love them as he's loved you, and then be free from what they did to you and be free from what they did to you in the future, so you can be free to enjoy life. So you can live loved, you can love living, and you can live loving.